Okay guys, so today we're just going to have a quick recap of your metals and non-metals. So you should have found out that metals are all solids except for liquid mercury. They have very high boiling points. They are really good conductors of heat and electricity. Ductile means they can be drawn into wires, so anything you plug in shows ductility. Sonorous means they make a ringing sound when hit, so we see that in bells. Malleable means you can change its shape by hammering it, so that's what happens in jewellery manufacture. Lustrous means it's shiny, so vast majority of metals are that. They are very dense except for the alkali metals, and they're the ones that we should have seen when we put them in water and that they go on fire. And that there are three magnetic metals, and that's iron, cobalt, and nickel. Then non-metals are usually liquids or gases. If they are solids, they're brittle, and the exception is diamond. They have very low boiling points, and again, exception is diamond. They are poor conductors of heat and electricity, which makes them good insulators. And again, graphite, which like diamond is a form of carbon, that doesn't behave as a non-metal. Now there's a forms quiz that you should have done by now. It should have been the first thing you do on your mobile phone. So these are the little questions that are in there that you have to answer. And the reason why I'm asking you to consider these is to do with what we're going to look at today. So our learning intention today is to understand the role of sustainability in extraction, how we get something out of the ground, or out of water or out of air, its use, its disposal, and recycling of the materials that are in it. And we're going to look at this from a metal context. So you guys are, what, some of you 14, 15 years old, will say you have another 70 years left in your life. And if you have a look through here, you will see that there's quite a number of metals that will have run out in 70 years. So the only ones really that will be left will be tantalum, will be chromium, will be aluminium, in terms of we'll be able to mine them out of the ground. Everything else on that list, by the time you've come to the end of your life, will no longer be able to be found in the ground as a source. So this is a funky periodic table, and what it is showing you are 90 elements that make up everything. So the green makes it a plentiful supply. Yellow is limited availability and going to get less. Orange is a rising threat because it's now more popular in use. And the red that are in there are the serious threat in the next 100 years. There, you can't see any synthetic. The other thing I will point out to you is the ones that have the little mobile phone on them means that they are used in the manufacture of smartphones. And if it has this grey box here, it means that countries in which these things are mined, there is a war going on between individuals to control the mining of these metals. So we'll come back to this in a minute. We're going to go and talk a little bit about what sustainability is. So sustainable, if something is sustainable, it means it's going to be available in the long term. So if we are mining things out of the ground and not recycling them correctly, then they're not going to be there when we want them. And we can talk about sustainability in terms of environment, in terms of product, in terms of food production, fuel production, things like that. So there is an ecology aspect to it, but also it's the way in which we live our lives and the products we use in doing so. So we're going to look today at extraction, how we get it out of the ground, its use, its disposal, how we get rid of it, and recycling of it, of particular metals. And before we do that, we are going to look at this.
Cobalt, mined by children's hands in dangerous and dirty conditions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, filmed by Sky News. Cobalt is one of 40 minerals that end up in smartphones, part of a bewilderingly complex global supply chain, from suppliers to smelters to factories, assembly lines. Finally, it ends up in our own hands. The clean, blank modernity of the digital revolution erases its grim origins.
What they need to be doing, and companies should be doing, is engaging with their suppliers to improve the conditions at the mine site, to remove children from the mines, so that mining really can be a source of growth and jobs instead of insecurity and child labor.
These are called artisanal mines, and they provide a livelihood to about a fifth of the population in the DRC. But they're also open to abuse. Sky News filmed children as young as 4 working in appalling conditions. The cobalt they mined ended up being bought by a Chinese cobalt mining company called Huayu CDM. Huayu told us they had immediate plans for improving the situation, but we asked them 3 times if they would apologise for using child labour. But just so Huayu isn't sorry.
I don't want to say in that way. You understand? We are proud of our work in DRC. And the local guys also, we have a very good reputation. And also, Sky News, you are more than welcome to tell us what we should do to help to improve this situation.
Cobalt is mainly used for batteries, in smartphones, laptops and electric cars. Some of Huayu's cobalt went to third-party battery makers. Their batteries ended up in Apple's products. Apple told me they've now instructed Huayu to stop sourcing cobalt from artisanal mines until they can be verified. They also said, Apple is deeply committed to the responsible sourcing of materials for our products, and we've led the industry in establishing the strictest standards for our suppliers. We were the first company to map our cobalt supply chain down to the mine, and 100% of our smelters are participating in independent third-party audits. The company has also launched initiatives on the ground with NGOs like PACT, more than a lot of tech and auto companies bother with. Most just rely on questionnaires and surveys filled out by their own suppliers. Tesla, BMW, Renault, Samsung and Dell all told us that, as far as they knew, no cobalt from Huayu entered their supply chains. The average smartphone has around 10 grams of cobalt. Let's call that a teaspoon's worth. Now, laptop batteries have more, around 3 times as much, 30 grams, so we'll call that a tablespoon there. But when it comes to electric car batteries, we're not talking spoons, we're talking buckets, around 10 kilograms per battery. That means a lot more cobalt mined as more electric cars are sold. This may look like a AA battery, but it's the sort of fuel cell you'll find in an electric vehicle. Researchers here in University College London are stripping it down to measure how much cobalt it contains.
Companies and universities like ours are trying to reduce the amount of cobalt that's being used in these different battery chemistries. But in the near future, we can expect there's going to be a significant amount of cobalt demand to service the lithium-ion battery market as it continues to grow with the growth of the electric vehicle market.
The smartphone revolution is already 10 years old. The devices we now delight in are impossibly sleek and powerful. But the brutal conditions that make them possible still seem like the relic of another age. Tom Cheshire, Sky News.
Now I was trying to find another one. No. Okay.
This is a brand new MacBook Pro and our prototype for the first drop test. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so that one always disturbs me when I see it because my kids are small and the conditions that they're working in, and that doesn't sit well with me at all. So when I look at phones, I look at the company and I try to find out about its supply chain. So here is a rare metals company, and what they do is not what the people in the previous example do. So these guys are very unusual in how they approach mineral exploration. So have a listen.
Avalon is a different kind of mineral company, a rare metals company, working in the Northwest Territories in mineral development with rare earth elements, the building blocks for new technology. Its flagship project located here on Thor Lake, called Nechalacho.
Rare earth elements are used in most electronic products that people rely on these days. They're televisions, they're smartphones, they're sort of the vitamins of modern technology. Nechalacho is one of the largest concentrations of the heavy rare earths found anywhere in the world. So far, no one else has found a deposit quite like Nechalacho.
Avalon works differently. To be sustainable, transparent, working together with Aboriginal and local communities.
It's all about building relationships and trust, and early engagement is key to that.
I think the local communities have been very appreciative of Avalon's approach. We engaged early, we engage often, and we are committed to engage throughout the life of the project. I believe the Aboriginal groups feel they have a stake in the company.
Corporate social responsibility means doing the right thing, regardless of what the rules and regulations are that govern your activities. It means being ethical and responsible in everything that you do.
It's a commitment that goes back to the very beginning.
We started our community engagement even before we started work on the ground at Nechalacho.
We have been actively engaging with them throughout the project.
That doesn't usually happen. Mostly companies will only start their engagement with the local communities once they're sort of forced to by the regulatory authorities. And by doing that on our own initiative was very well received by the communities.
It's Avalon's commitment to sustainability that directly helps the bottom line.
Avalon is in a leadership position in terms of sustainability, everything from early engagement with our Aboriginal partners right through to transparent reporting, which is extremely rare in our industry. There is a solid business value to sustainability. It's doing things right the first time. It's always cheaper than fixing it after the fact.
And we think it will give us competitive advantage in terms of access to the markets for our products going forward, and ultimately access to capital to build this project. We believe that sustainability will create value for Avalon because the products that we seek to produce are vital in clean technology, and clean technology as an industry sector in particular wants that those raw materials that they use to be produced in a sustainable way. I think we've got the right deposit at the right time in Nechalacho, and our vision is to make Avalon the leading supplier of heavy rare earths and other valuable rare metals to the markets outside China.
Okay, so those guys are very unusual in terms of how they go about doing their business. So they are looking to have sustainable production, they're looking at protecting the environment, interacting with their customers, guaranteeing that everything that's being extracted is being done so at the correct level, so not using child labor, proper health and safety involved. So that will be the extraction. The metal is going to be used in something, so we'll just look at mobile phones.
Global reliance on cell phones and other mobile devices is increasing at a rapid rate. In 2010, approximately 235.6 million cell phones were sold. However, only 17.4 million of these devices were recycled that year, representing a huge waste in precious metals, including silver, gold, palladium, platinum, tin, and copper, and underscoring the need for proper recycling processes. At Electronic Recyclers International, we are committed to responsibly recycling mobile devices. Cell phones that are still functional are tested and logged into our proprietary tracking software to be refurbished and resold whenever possible. Any cell phones that are beyond repurposing will be shredded by ERI, broken down into sortable raw commodities such as plastics, low-grade and high-grade metals, and glass, and then sent to our downstream partners where they are recycled and made into new products. You can be assured that your cellular data is safe when your device is recycled with ERI. All parts and phones slated to be refurbished are first wiped by our recycling specialists. Devices that are shredded are broken down into parts so small the data is guaranteed to be destroyed. ERI follows all Department of Defense protocols when it comes to handling and destroying data. As the speed at which cell phones are rendered obsolete only seems to be increasing, you can trust that ERI, the nation's largest electronics recycler, will ensure your devices are responsibly recycled and repurposed. For more information on cell phone recycling, contact ERI at 1-800-ERI-DIRECT or visit electronicrecyclers.com.
Alrighty, so that just gives you an idea about recycling if it's done. So we've seen all of these. So your job now is going to be to pick one of these elements, the ones that have the mobile phones in them. So you can pick controversial conflict minerals, or you can pick ones that have limited availability. So these ones will probably be the best ones to do this on in terms of figuring out has this industry figured out sustainability for their product. So the things that you're going to have to figure out is you're picking one of the metals. Where is it found as a natural resource? How is it extracted? So you're going to have to find some information on that. What is it used for? So obviously we know it's used in mobile phones, but what part of the phone? Is there any negative effects caused by its extraction and or use? So if you put in a Google search on whatever metal it is, if it was tantalum extraction and maybe even use child labour, you will find very quickly if there's any headlines in it. You could also put in something like health and safety, and that will tell you is there anything toxic that's produced that might harm the environment or individuals. Is it sustainably mined? So can you find any evidence of that? How is it recycled once that particular product is no longer being used? And if there's anything else weird or wonderful that you find. So as I say, you're going to use a metal with the mobile phone symbol. You get to present in any format that you want, as long as it is in your own words. So poster, presentation, report, video, you can do this for your CBA 1. That is totally acceptable. But you need to make sure that you are supplying full references, because if you don't, then that's going to knock you down on some of the marking points, and it has to be in your own words. So by full references, it's not enough to tell me the beginning website was, I don't know, extractmetals.com. If you've gone into pages and that, you need to copy and paste the whole thing and put that into whatever, I would suggest, a Word document, or put it into the OneNote document. I'm on Zoom if you need any help. This week, we have no lesson on, it won't work right in this, so there's no Thursday lesson because Mr. Thompson's giving you the day off because you've done so great. We have no lesson on Friday because that is our day off, so no lesson Thursday, no lesson Friday. So I will see you on Tuesday just before Patrick's Day. Okay, be safe.